Millions of students worldwide are walking out of class to take to the streets for a global crisis, climate change, even students right here on campus.
Have you tried parking downtown lately? There's a reason it's getting tougher, we'll tell you.
Something old becomes something new at the Monroe County Fairgrounds. We'll show you the modern version of an old-time medicine show. Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Karli VanCleave.
And I'm Michaela Dumesny. We start with breaking news. There has been a deadly accident involving a bus and pedestrian on one of Bloomington's busiest streets. IU NewsNet's Katrina Nickel has late details.
I'm currently standing outside on the corner of 3rd and Walnut, just outside the Bloomington Transit Center, where an accident has just taken place between a Bloomington City bus and a passenger trying to board the bus. I just spoke with a Bloomington Transit employee who has confirmed that unfortunately this accident did result in a death. Bloomington PD will be investigating the accident with surrounding area surveillance video, in addition to surveillance video from the bus.
We'll bring you the latest information on our webpage.
A 16-year-old girl from Sweden has inspired people all the way to Bloomington. The issue, what she calls a dying planet.
People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
Environmental activist Greta Thunberg delivered a speech at the United Nations that is rallying global activism, including a climate march right here in Bloomington.
IU NewsNet's Isabel Nieves followed a march that started here on campus. Isabel?
Around noon on Friday, hundreds of Bloomington residents left their homes, work, and schools to send a loud and clear message about the environment. This is Bloomington protest in action. Thousands of people of all ages marched from Dunn Meadow to People's Park to the mayor's office. This was part of a global walkout. At noon last Friday, people walked out of the classrooms and into the streets, carrying signs.
I wrote this.
What does it say?
Well, this climate action now.
Jackie and her older sister Simone say it's up to their generation to lead the fight for climate change.
I want to make a difference as well, and this is an opportunity that kind of came knocking, so.
Strikers say they want to stop the age of fossil fuels, to attain climate justice for everyone, and they want political leaders to act now.
All of us are really passionate about the environment and making sure corporations and the government knows that things have to be done, and to hear that they're taking steps to make sure that their money is going to places that are going to help the environment is really important.
They inspired each other through speeches, music, and song.
It's our future, and we're not going to survive if we keep on the track that we're going.
The strike was not just one day. It was the start of a week-long fight for a lifetime battle against the climate crisis. To the youth, the fight for climate justice isn't cooling down anytime soon.
Do you think you're still going to fight for climate change in the future and as you grow up?
Definitely.
A journey of 1,000 miles, one step at a time. Climate strike organizers hope this was just the first of many similar events in Bloomington in the coming days, weeks, and years.
Now to another environmental matter. Some Bloomington businesses are doing their part to reduce plastic waste from straws. IU NewsNet's Lizzie Grossman is covering that story for us.
Have you noticed something different about the cups on campus? Chains like Starbucks and local stores like Bloomington Bagel Company have started making the switch to strawless lids. The stores are doing this to help the planet by trying to reduce the amount of plastic put into landfills.
So we were originally going to do the rubber straws for the cups, but we couldn't find a product or like a lid that would fit. So we opted for getting the lids that have just like the opening at the top. That way we don't have to use straws or anything like that. Just one step closer to changing the environment and like the way that we sell our product and the way that we live.
But what do consumers think?
I like them. I think that they're good for the environment, except I don't really like the fact that I always think it's going to spill on me whenever I'm drinking out of it.
I think it's fine. I actually would probably prefer this over the paper straws, because the paper straws kind of they kind of crumble.
You can try out the strawless lids at Bloomington Bagel Company, Starbucks, and other stores around the area. Now, back to you.
Thanks, Libby. Now, what started as a $344 million hospital project is rising by more than $200,000. The Herald Times reports the price tag for Bloomington's new IU Regional Academic Health Center is up to $557 million. The higher price tag accounts for utilities and infrastructure. Leaders say the new hospital will allow for more patients than the current hospital. It includes a cancer center, a women's center, and an enhanced intensive care. But the biggest impact, education. The hospital will train around 1,000 students in health services.
But we think what this will end up doing is enriching not only the students' experience in going through the program, but will provide even better health care to the community when these individuals go out into practice.
The hospital will welcome its first students and patients by 2021.
Construction is also one of the reasons the busiest buildings on campus is out of commission this semester. The Ballantyne Hall renovation has put a squeeze on class space all across campus. The classes normally held in Ballantyne have been temporarily moved. Construction workers are renovating on the heating and cooling, the roof and elevators, fire protection, and classrooms. Ballantyne should reopen by fall 2020. One of the changes to Ballantyne is more visible when the sun goes down. New LED lantern-style lights are being installed in the wooded area outside Ballantyne Hall. The new lights can be remote controlled to dim the lights if needed for outdoor performances. IU officials say the new lights will be brighter and cheaper than the old ones.
IU President Michael McRobbie delivered Bicentennial's State of the University address this week. McRobbie's speech highlighted the progress the university has made in its multi-year Bicentennial Action Plan, its plan moving into the next century. He discussed IU's growing student body and it becoming more diverse each year. President McRobbie also mentioned the addition of multiple schools and programs, emphasizing the School of Informatics, Computer Science, and Engineering, which now has a new name.
That the trustees have approved the naming of the Informatics, Computing and Engineering building at the corner of 10th and Woodlawn, Miles Brand Hall, which will honour both of these anniversaries.
Miles Brand was 16th president of IU and founded the School of Informatics in 1999. His wife and son were in the audience when the announcement was made.
Public transportation in Bloomington is going to be more eco-friendly in the near future. The City Council approved funding for Bloomington Transit to buy its second electric bus. 20% of the Bloomington's transit buses are hybrid electric, and the first electric bus was approved in 2019 budget. Residents will get more chances to take electric buses and experience non-emission rides beginning in late 2020 or early 2021. The buses that carry students around on campus are crowded, but there's a little bit more of relief. IU has made a few changes to bus routes this semester, just in time to accommodate the largest freshman class in IU history. The biggest change is the new C bus. The C route will circulate the central part of campus and is the only bus that travels counterclockwise. IU has also added an additional A bus to help remedy overcrowding.
We know Wi-Fi on campus has not been great since classes began in August. Well, we finally got to the bottom of the change from IU Secure Network to EduRoam. The new network will make it easier for students to connect to Wi-Fi at any other universities that have the same network. All students will have to do when visiting is use their IU email and passphrase to log in. Purdue, Notre Dame, and Ball State are some of the already participating colleges.
Still one of the early adopters, but we're seeing this trend going nationwide, and we want to be a part of that and just make it easier for students and faculty to be able to use wireless networking wherever they might be.
UITS plans to have campus on all EduRoam by January 2020. In the meantime, they are continuing to troubleshoot any issues people may have during the transition.
The preacher known as Brother Jed and his wife are back on campus after students reported some aggressive behavior last week. IU issued a trespass warning to Brother Jed following what counter-protesters say was physical contact with at least one student. Brother Jed is a 76-year-old preacher with the real name of George Smock. He has been preaching in public areas for more than 30 years and is known for his confrontational preaching style.
And IU's College of Arts and Sciences is making a small change for graduate student workers who say they face unfair conditions. It is eliminating unremittable fees starting next year. But some of the grad students say that's just not enough.
How many faculty? They're both teacher and student. And collectively, they're in almost every single undergraduate class.
So a lot of people are doing not so great. There are people who are having to work second jobs, people who have put off important medical care.
They're graduate student workers.
And it's just very frustrating to have the fact that maybe you don't have enough money to pay rent or something get in the way of kind of performing your job to its full potential.
The Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition, a group fighting towards fair working conditions.
This is a really large labor force for the university, and we want this labor force to be able to function kind of to the best we can. And it's really hard to do that if we're being paid maybe half of what Indiana University itself identifies as the living wage here.
Over $1,000 of their yearly pay goes towards IU mandatory fees. But last week, the College of Arts and Sciences announced a $1,200 reduction in those fees.
I have not had a raise in 6 years, and this is the first positive change in my pay since I've been here. So it's really just exciting to have this kind of progress.
But they say this is just one small change.
They do really important work for Indiana University, so we want to make sure that they are being treated in an equitable way. So we want to keep that dialogue open, continue to talk about it. Certainly we have heard those concerns.
We all want to be the best teachers we can, the best researchers we can, and it's just really hard right now. So hopefully eventually graduate school will be hard in all the ways that you would expect it to be hard.
The Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition is meeting with the administration tomorrow to further discuss improvements for their working conditions.
Trying to park in downtown is getting harder. It's supply and demand as 4th Street Garage gets a makeover.
And new developments about the future of e-cigarette company Juul. The company shakeup and a halt to advertising after more serious concerns arise over the health of people who vape.
Welcome back to IU NewsNet. I'm standing here in front of the 4th Street parking garage where Bloomington employees are quite excited to see the structure begin to be torn down this week. 8 months after closing, demolition of the 4th Street garage has only just begun.
It's definitely caused a problem with people being able to arrive on time. Every day we seem to get at least one call where someone's circling around looking for parking, really sorry they're late.
Downtown merchants say that the long shutdown has led many Bloomington employees to park illegally. The 4th Street garage originally parked up to 352 vehicles. Vehicles now forced to the streets or other garages further away.
The lack of parking has to do with mobility as well. I think some people aren't thinking about that older people and people that are differently mobile, walking 2 blocks is a deal breaker to go to a business.
Mayor John Hamilton told the IDS we're disappointed that the garage deteriorated more quickly than its expected lifespan. The Bloomington City Council voted to demolish and rebuild the garage. Preparations for the demolition started earlier this month. The structure is due to come down in sections over the next several weeks.
We don't require our therapists to be here if they don't have an appointment because they get paid commission. And so instead of someone who'd be usually willing to just hang out in the office and see if we get a walk-in, they're like, oh, my meter time's up, and they're out the door.
The 4th Street garage renovation is now expected to be complete a year from this December.
Juul has suspended advertising across the United States pending further research on the lung problems popping up in users. Also this week, the CEO of Juul stepped down. The Trump administration will temporarily ban all flavored pods and e-cigarettes, which are primarily marketed to young people with bright colors and modern designs. The death toll is rising, including 1 death in Indiana linked to vaping. Each school year, hundreds of women graduate IU and start their new careers. One IU organization is doing its part to tackle a massive issue that affects young women, the gender pay gap. The group IUB Women Rising says the pay gap starts as soon as women get their first job out of college. Their goal is to educate students about how to avoid pay discrimination. They say, on average, women make 80 cents for every dollar a man earns, while minority women earn even less.
We just want to educate students about those ways that the gaps can affect them and affect their peers, when they're advocating for themselves and others. And we just want them to have that information so they can be prepared and hopefully help them avoid pay discrimination because we want them to know their worth.
She says IU Women Rising hosts salary negotiation courses each month, open to all students.
For 12 years, families, friends and volunteers have walked in support of their buddies with Down syndrome. The group called Down Syndrome Family Connection held the annual buddy walk at Monroe County Fairgrounds. This event is an opportunity to spread awareness, acceptance and inclusion of the people with Down syndrome. Not only did participants walk, but they also played games at the carnival, took pictures in the photo booth, and won big prizes. In the end, this event holds one goal: love. While plenty of IU students are catching up on sleep during the weekends, some are awake and ready to spend hours on Lake Lemon. The IU bass fishing team wakes up at 7 a.m. for competitive bass fishing. Some weekends they practice and compete against each other, while other weekends they compete against other colleges. To win, the bass must be at least 14 inches and weigh the most. IU freshman Ben Abrams is leading the way for his team.
For me, it's the relaxation, kind of getting away from everything. Like, you wake up, you see the sunrise. You spend all day out here, it's quiet, it's nice.
The team's next tournament will be October 13th against rival Purdue and bring home the Minow bucket. Sports with Griffin Gonzales is straight up ahead on IU NewsNet.
He'll take a look back at a big win for the Hoosiers and a look ahead to what's in store this weekend.
Thanks for staying with us. Griffin Gonzales is back in the studio with sports for the week.
That's right. He predicted the apparent Hoosier win last week, and we are excited to hear more about last week's victory against UConn. Griffin?
I think you guys are giving me too much credit. UConn was good. It wasn't great, but thank you guys. Good to be back with you. We begin with Indiana football, where after a huge win over UConn last week, the Hoosiers have a much bigger challenge in East Lansing this weekend. The Hoosiers will leave the state of Indiana for the first time this season to face off against the 25th ranked Michigan State Spartans. Now, the Sparty touts one of the nation's top defenses as the Hoosiers' offense continues to be plagued by ongoing injuries, mainly surrounding quarterback Michael Penix. However, against UConn, the Hoosiers lost their biggest piece yet. Offensive lineman Coy Cronk went down with an apparent leg injury in the first half and is expected to miss the rest of the 2019 campaign. Despite the huge loss, Tom Allen is remaining positive with the opportunities ahead.
So excited about the opportunity this week. The brass spittoon is what we're playing for. It's our first trophy game, and we'll do a good job in the morning explaining what that is to our new guys that are just here, and understand that this game means a lot to our program. So, got to get our guys ready.
Hoosiers will kick off against Michigan State in the Battle of the Brass Spittoon this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Now, a team that has been constantly on the rise this fall is none other than the Indiana volleyball team. The Cream and Crimson just wrapped up a huge weekend in the USF Invitational. IU NewsNet's Haley Jordan tells us more.
Indiana volleyball celebrated their 7th straight win, an 11-2 pre-conference record after winning the USF Invitational. On Friday, the Hoosiers kicked off the weekend by defeating the Stetson Hatters in 4 sets. A few hours later, the Hoosiers claimed a 5-set win against the South Florida Bulls. Senior middle blocker Jackie Armour totaled 10 kills and 5 blocks, which would end up earning her the MVP of the Invitational. The Bulls were given the opportunity for revenge, but crumbled in 4 sets under Indiana senior Daisha Lofton's 13 kills. This week, the Hoosiers will debut their Big Ten play with 7th-ranked Minnesota and 9th-ranked Wisconsin.
Their record is 11-2 on the year. However, their biggest test comes of the season this weekend with a 2-game road trip, both against ranked opponents. Now, sad news to report this evening as a member of the Indiana athletics community has passed away of cancer. Courtney Cox Cole was a dual sport athlete at Indiana, playing both golf and women's basketball in the early 90s. Indiana women's basketball coach Terry Moran released a statement saying, quote, "History will remember her as one of Indiana's all-time greatest. But more importantly, she will be remembered as a genuine, funny, successful businesswoman and as a loving daughter, mother, and sister." Cole was the co-owner of Hare Chevrolet in Noblesville with her sister. She was just 48 years old. Finally, hey, here in Bloomington, it's never too soon to talk about Indiana basketball, right? Well, this week was the media's first opportunity to check in with Archie Miller and the respective players and see what's going on with the 2019-2020 season right around the corner. During his 30-minute press conference, head coach Archie Miller spoke highly of the newcomers coming to the program.
Our newcomers, two true freshmen and Joey Brunk, those 3 guys, man, they fit in seamlessly. They've been pleasant surprise.
Fans have a chance to see the Hoosiers in action next weekend as they will be debuting both the men's and women's squad during Hoosier Hysteria. Admission is free, but fans are encouraged to bring a canned food item to donate. So lots of stuff kind of going on this week in Hoosier sports. We didn't even touch men's and women's soccer, but still lots of stuff.
It's crazy. We're already talking about basketball. It seems like the semester's going so fast already.
Only in Bloomington, I think it's okay to talk about basketball the second it hits, right? I think we're in the clear there.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Griffin. Before we say goodbye, we want to show you something that most of us have never even seen.
At the Monroe County Fall Festival, Dan Barth, dressed in costume, pays respect to an old tradition, the traveling medicine show. Take a look.
They called me. I had never been here before. Said, we've been looking for a medicine show. So I thought, well, you know, we'll do the thing. The last one that I personally knew about closed in 1959. When the doc told me Sunday afternoon football put him out of business on TV. He couldn't get a crowd anymore on Sundays. They all stayed home and watched sports. And finally in 59, he couldn't do it anymore because the crowds just thinned down and television made a big impact on live entertainment. We have 1, 2, Surf Old Base should do it. First place Jennifer was practice. I went to the circus. I think I went with Dad. The trainer poked the lion in a rib, and boy, did he get mad. There were lots of things sold on the medicine show.
What an interesting guy. I can't believe that's right here in Bloomington.
I know.
Medicine shows were touring acts that peddled so-called miracle cures and entertained people in the process. And that's it for IU NewsNet for now. I'm Karli VanCleave.
And I'm Michaela Dumesny. From all of us at IU NewsNet, including many behind the scenes, thank you for watching.